Hey, welcome back into the podcast. So today we are going to talk about the real estate market in the Reno Sparks area, more specifically Washoe County. We're going to go through all the numbers for June 2024 and then give you what are the 5 things that are driving the market going forward into this crazy time we're in. So welcome back. This is Elena Boland with Wholesale Mortgage. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So she's going to help us go through the numbers, and then we're going to talk about that there's a lot of things driving this market. It's a little different than what we've seen here in the last few months, and we're going to go into the reasons why. Ready?
Good, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to let you talk about the median home price.
$600,000 for June 2024.
Crazy, huh?
Yes, definitely.
So what are we up year over year?
We're up 4.3% year over year, which is actually sounds and feels low because I think there's a lot more appreciation in some areas, but I think that's a good average.
Average over it. Yeah, keep in mind that the MLS has changed the numbers. We don't want to go into too much detail, but it used to be by area, but now it's by county.
Right.
So we are looking at Washoe County numbers here. So.
Yes.
And it doesn't include townhomes or manufacturers. These are just single family stick built.
Good.
So median price 600, approaching the high. I think the high all time is around 615, 620.
Right.
So we're right there despite interest rates.
Yeah.
Which is shocking to all of us because we'll talk about interest rates in a second. So then we're talking about closed sales. So a little bit over 400, 408 for June. That's down about 9% year over year and down about 8% month over month. So 400, I would expect a little higher, especially when we're in the May, June, July are the high times. So 400 is not a lot of sales.
Right, agreed.
So what about median days of contracts?
15. So if it takes longer than 2 days to get your home into contract, don't panic. Give it 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we have a lot of people who are used to the market where you list on Thursday, have multiple offers close, be in contract on Monday, but it's past 2 weeks now. So that's actually up 45%.
Which is wild. That's why I think a lot of people feel panicked about it, but no, it's not just you, it's not just your home. People are just being more concise about their decisions now, which is smart and a good thing.
With higher interest rates, people are really taking a look and really analyzing. They're not jumping in right away.
Right.
We're not talking about price received. Median price per square foot. So it's up. It's up about 4%, about what is up for a median sales price. We're at 318.
Right.
So we've talked about this a lot. If you want to kind of just get a general idea, if you're in a regular neighborhood, 315 to 320 a square foot should give you an idea of what you should be paying. But obviously have your agent look closer at comps because every neighborhood is different because we have neighborhoods that are 1,000 square foot. We have 500 square foot, so it kind of just depends.
Yes.
New listings?
565 new listings.
Not a lot of listings. I mean, it's down about 2% year over year. And this is shocking to me because June's usually a hot time. It's down almost 15% from May.
Right, surprising for sure.
So not as many people listening, and we'll talk about one of the reasons why we think that is in a second. And this is the number that shocked me. Active inventory.
Both of us, yeah.
Because we're working with a lot of buyers, and man, they're all telling us that there's not a lot out there, but that's not necessarily true. There's almost 925 homes active inventory right now. That means on the market, not in contract, just sitting there.
Right.
Up 17% year over year. That's a shocker. Not really with higher interest rates. And then up 14% month over month.
Yeah.
So we're quickly approaching 1,000. Now we did analysis just kind of looking at active inventory and then what are pendings, and there's another 550 pendings. So there's actually around 1,400 houses between active and pending. It's kind of an interesting stat. So. And then month supply of inventory.
2.3, meaning we've got, if nobody sold a home, you could keep going and continue on for 2.3 months.
Yep. So it's actually up. For the better part of the year, we were hovering around 1 to 1.5%.
Right.
But it's kind of coming be more. So that's good for buyers.
It is.
But sellers are going to have to be more patient.
Agreed.
So one of the biggest questions we get, now we're doing that, why the difference here? Why are there more houses? What is going on? What's causing all this stuff? So we kind of did a list. It is the top 5 things driving the local real estate market in the Reno Sparks area. So Elena doesn't know what this list is, but we're going to quiz her and see if she's been paying attention.
Okay.
So the number one thing, we're talking about local. We're not talking about national. There are a lot of markets around the country, Austin, Texas, Florida, where they're seeing 30 to 40% off. We're in a little different area just because the great job people have done creating jobs and bringing it to the area. But the number one thing driving this area, in my opinion right now, it's seasonality, which is, we both have kids, is
school.
Washoe County School District starts earlier. So the trend, if you look at the map over time, is after 4th of July, the market in the Reno Sparks area, since Washoe County a few years ago went to an earlier start time, it slows down. We've had a lot of agents mention that on a lot of posts in a lot of Facebook areas saying it's slower. Not as many people, and I think that there's heat, but the school is a big driver in our area.
It definitely is. It's true for, I don't know, I would say over 50% of the buyers that we end up working with. And it's important to know if you're relocating to this area that our school starts a little bit earlier, but there's compromise there in that we also get some longer breaks in there for fall break and for winter break as well, which is nice because you get to go do things like enjoy the snow with your family.
That's correct. And spring break's 2 weeks.
Yes,
Nice.
love that.
So August 12th, or I think it might be the 13th. You kind of take a look at that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want to settle in well before that so that they're ready for school start. So that's the number one driver in my opinion. Now there's something else. We're not going to go way in the weeds, but you're going to want to subscribe to our channel because I'm going to talk to our broker about the commission lawsuit.
Yeah.
So the National Realtor Association lost a lawsuit a while back. It's a $5 billion settlement. And there's going to be some changes to commissions. Now, a lot of people don't know about this. I don't see many videos in our area talking about it, but we're going to talk about it in depth. But August 17th is the deadline now where once that number hits, several things are going to happen. Commissions for buyer's agents are not going to be allowed to be put on MLS. So what the lawsuit was about, the short of it is, the DOJ and this lawsuit said realtors were keeping commissions high artificially by making or having the seller pay for the buyer's agents.
Right.
So for about 100 years, what would happen is a listing agent would go into contract with a seller. There would be a certain amount for commission, and it was understood that half that commission or whatever was negotiated would go towards a buyer's agent.
Right.
So put it on the MLS, it says your cooperative buyer's agent come in, they get this much commission. That is going away.
Right.
So essentially, if there's no change or you don't have a good realtor that negotiates, as a buyer, you could potentially be responsible for paying your buyer's agent's commission. So how is that going to happen? How's that, as a lender, you see a lot of people qualify. What percentage are going to be able to pay? And we're not going to talk specifics, but if it's 2 or 3% more that they're going to have to pay, they're going to knock out some people.
A large population of buyers would be unable to afford to buy a home, at least with a realtor. And imagine going in there as a first-time home buyer, blind, not ever having looked at a purchase contract before and trying to fill it out yourself.
Or doing dual agency. I think that dual agency, if done correctly, there are some scenarios that make sense. That's the next lawsuit, in my opinion.
Agreed. Because I think it will end up swinging that way with quite a few transactions. But if you think about it as a buyer, it's best for you, in my opinion, to have your own agent representing you versus someone whose best interest is really out there for the seller.
Yeah, so be careful of that. I mean, I've done a handful. I don't do them all the time, but there are some circumstances where it makes sense, where you can save some money, or there's some reason why you would do dual agency, which is The leasing agent represents both parties, but be careful. It's not in the best interest of probably a first-time home buyer.
Right.
Because you got to ask yourself, who is the agent really looking out for?
Yeah, and really this is an opinion of ours, but you can do whatever works for you. It's just important to make sure you're checking out a track record of everybody that you're working with and make sure you're asking the right questions.
Okay, so August 17th, no more commissions for buyer's agent on the MLS. The next big thing that all buyers need to know is if you want to look at a house that's on the MLS, an agent cannot show you a house any longer unless you are in a signed buyer's broker agreement, which spells out how much you are going to potentially pay, or you are going to pay your agent if you buy a house.
Right.
So that's a big change. No change for our team. We've had several people not work with us because for years and years and years, we've always had our buyers pay us a certain amount. They have to sign a buyer broker agreement before we sign any house, because what we don't want to happen, and this is where I kind of disagree with the lawsuit, is there are sellers right now that offer 1%. There are builders that offer $1. And I don't want to show someone how weekends, nights, spend all my time with you to find out that my commission is going to be $500. Because my time is worth more than that. So it's not a big change for a lot of realtors, but it is a change for, I'd say, the majority of the realtors getting a buyer broker and proving your worth as a buyer's agent.
And Ken's point is that he's always been operating with transparency. That's not the case in every market and with every agent. So that's why there's not a big change for him there.
So so there is probably still a way to negotiate with sellers, but your agent's going to have to do a lot more work as a buyer's agent to find out if the seller is willing. But it can't be on any MLS on if they're going to pay for your broker, your agent's commission, and it has to be negotiated at the time of the contract. So subscribe to our channel. We're going to have a full depth hour discussion about all these new changes, but they are coming August 17th.
Yep.
So that's a little bit creating a little uncertainty, because if you're a buyer out there and a seller's not going to pay for your agent's commission, it's probably going to make it so that you can't afford a house. So keep that in mind. This is not new. Lack of move-up buyers.
Yeah.
So I saw a stat, I think it's like 85% of people in Washoe County that have a mortgage are below 4%.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, these 3% mortgages that people have been signing up for since 2010 or whatever it was, 2015, are going to slowly go away. People are going to pay them off, or they're going to move. But the reality is, we come across a lot of people want to move, but if they have a 3% 30-year fixed mortgage and rates are at what now? 7. Put those numbers together, and even if you have $500,000 in equity, a 7% interest rate.
It'll about double the principal and interest portion of your payment.
Yeah. So we're missing a whole section of buyers out there that would move up and buy $1 million property with their house that they bought. Some people have $500,000 to $700,000. We deal with that regularly.
Yes.
But they just don't have the ability, and I mean, you got to be a little crazy if you're going to give up 3%.
Right. It's important to check when you're moving, what will my payment be when you get pre-approved? A lot of people don't ask that question. A good lender will make sure you know that your payment's going to change, and they discuss that with you, but make sure to ask.
Okay, so the next thing is interest rates are stubbornly high, right?
Right.
And prices aren't dropping. We just went over $600,000 as the median home price.
Yeah.
So what do you say about that? It's making it tough for affordability, right?
It is. It's very tough. A lot of entry-level homes, your payment's going to exceed $3,500 a month, even if it's a resale home with affordable taxes. So it's just something you have to think about. No matter what interest rates are, you just have to think, can I afford the house payment, and can I afford the down payment if it's applicable for your family? And let that be the driver on what you want to do. And you just remember that you can probably refinance later if rates come down. There's no accurate prediction though. Nobody's got a crystal ball. Unfortunately, a lot of financial markets are influenced by politics now versus economics. So it's just not something that you can always count on. You gotta be comfortable with your house payment.
Yeah, make sure you can afford it, because people forget what happened in 2005 to 8,
Right.
10. We don't. So just make sure you can afford it, and don't have anyone tell you, oh, rates are coming down, because that may not be the case. Just keep in mind that the historical rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage in the United States is around 7,
Yes.
6 to 7.
Yeah.
So we're basically in the norm right now.
Right.
Those 3% ones are a thing of the past.
What was the interest rate on the first house you bought?
First, it was 10%.
10. Mine was 5.75.
So yeah, keep
So
that in mind.
different, yeah.
So that's the top 4. The last one is the crazy November election.
Yes.
So a lot of people are hesitating. There's obviously, we're not going to talk politics, but you know, we had a president drop out of the race. We had almost assassination attempt. There's just a lot of crazy uncertainty.
Right.
So a lot of people are freezing. I don't necessarily think that whatever party wins is going to impact housing that much, in my opinion. So I say, you know, if you find a house, you get the interest rate you want, I would go for it. Out of all the reasons, I wouldn't think the election, people get all excited, and then the election happens, and then you get it 6 months into it, things don't really change.
Right.
We've been through this a lot. So.
Yes. You'll see the cycle, and there's a lot of talk about rates historically dropping at election time, but this time might not happen. So it's just something, if it does, great, and if not, you just plan on staying in your current payment.